Hi, it's Donna here from Donna's Quilt Studio. Today I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to make a little quilt for a baby. Today we're going to be using the Shannon Cuddle fabric, which is very soft and fluffy and ideal for a baby. We start by taking a 50 centimetre square of plain fabric for your backing. I've chosen this lovely red. I'm going to place it fluffy side down, wrong side up, and now we're going to take our strips that we've previously cut into 50 centimetre lengths, whatever width you want, and we start by taking the first one and placing it in the middle of our square. Right, now we're going to take our second strip, and I've cut my second strip just a little bit wider, so the first one's about 3 inches, this one's going to be about 4 inches. I suggest that you cut your strips between 3 and 5 inches for the best effect. Now we're going to take our second strip and we're going to place it right sides together on the first strip. Place it in now we're going to pin these layers together. I pin across the seam about every inch to inch and a half. There we go, now we've pinned all along the seam that we're going to sew, and we're going to take it over and sew it. Now we're ready to sew, and just a few things of note before we start sewing. I suggest that you use a walking foot or a Teflon foot. An ordinary foot will do, but if you've got the option, use your walking foot. A larger stitch than normal, I would say about a stitch 3, and matching coloured thread for your backing fabric, because you're going to see your backing fabric, so I've put red cotton on. Also, we need to use about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and we're going to be sewing through all the 3 layers. Take the pins out as you go. And carefully sew along the seam. This fabric is a little stretchy, but if you, with careful pinning, you shouldn't have a problem with it. There we go, that's our seam, and we're going to open it over, so just flip it back, make sure it's nice and flat. And then we're going to take our next strip, right sides together, lay them in place, and we're going to repeat the whole process again. So just make sure it's nice and flat, and then we're going to pin it in place. Right, and then we're ready to sew again. Right, now once we've covered this side, we're going to repeat the process on the other side. So we'll just turn it around, and we'll place our next strip, right sides together, over that first centre strip. Right, now we've finished sewing all the strips to the backing. As you can see, there's all the strips sewn to the backing. And I've trimmed them off so that it's become a square. And now we're going to put the binding on. Now these binding strips are cut at 2 inches wide, and we're going to sew down the end, so again, right sides together. These are just single layer bindings, we're not folding them in half. A single layer, pin along the edge, and stitch in place. So we're going to do this to opposite sides. And now we're going to sew it in place using our 1/2 inch seam and our walking foot along the edge. Right, so now we've sewn our 1/2 inch seam, our binding, onto the quilt on opposite sides. We're going to now open that over, and we'll take another strip and we'll sew from this end right down to the other end where the binding finishes. Right, now we've sewn the binding all the way around. Now nearly finished. Our last little tip is turn it over and we're going to take the edge of the binding over to the back. You don't need to neaten that off or tuck it under, it'll sit fine. And I just pin just inside that seam there all the way along. Now we do this in the same order as we've sewn them on. And I use a 3-step zigzag stitch to hold this in place. So have a look on your machine. Generally this is a stitch that's used to sew elastic into garments. If you haven't got a 3-step zigzag, just a big wide stitch will do. Right, now we're going to start stitching, and I just sew just a little bit in from the seam edge of the binding. We start with a little fixed stitch, and then now it can get quite thick here, so make sure that you don't sew over a pin. Keep it nice and flat and just ease it through as you sew. Take it slowly, because it's so thick you're likely to break a needle, so now I generally just sew along until I come to the intersection there where it meets with the binding running the other way. And then we'll just go backwards and forwards to anchor that off and finish it off. Now we're going to repeat the same process on the other side, but you can see a little stitching there. So we're going to repeat the same process. Right, now we've sewn the 2 opposite sides, and the other 2 remaining sides are now going to be sewn down. So you can see that this end here of the binding's folded over already. So we're just going to take it over, roll it round to the back and pin it in place. Now you'll find that this is extra bulky here, so you need to take extra care when you're sewing. You may want to cut a little bit out, but usually you can just leave it in there. Pin it in place. And then we're going to stitch it down. And now we have our completed little baby's quilt. It might look small, but I can tell you that they're really ideal for using in pushchairs and baby car seats. Also a great little comfort blanket for a little baby. This technique is the same technique that we use for all of our strip piece cuddle quilts that we have available at Donna's Quilt Studio, or you can visit us online at donnasquiltstudio.co.nz. So good luck, enjoy making your little cuddle quilt, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.